The cool night breeze whispered through the olive trees of Gethsemane, but the air was thick with tension. Jesus, his face marked with sorrow, yet resolute with purpose, knelt in fervent prayer. A sense of urgency weighed on him like never before. He had come to this place often, a sanctuary of solitude where he poured out his heart to the Father. But tonight was different. Tonight, the weight of the world's sin pressed upon him. "Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me," Jesus prayed, his voice trembling. "Yet not my will, but yours be done." His sweat fell like drops of blood, a sign of the agonizing struggle within his soul. He knew what was coming: betrayal, humiliation, suffering. But he chose obedience. He rose to his feet, his eyes glistening with unshed tears, and walked back to where his disciples, Peter, James, and John, had fallen asleep. His voice, filled with sorrow yet firm, called them awake. "Could you not keep watch with me for 1 hour?" But before they could respond, a sudden commotion broke the silence. Flickering torches pierced the darkness, and the clanking of metal armor echoed through the garden. A detachment of Roman soldiers and temple guards stormed in, their expressions cold and determined. At their head stood Judas Iscariot. Jesus met Judas' gaze, not with anger, but with sorrowful understanding. Judas's hands trembled slightly as he stepped forward. He had arranged a signal, a kiss. "Rabbi," Judas whispered, voice unsteady, before pressing his lips against Jesus' cheek. A cold hush settled over the garden, betrayal sealed with a kiss. Jesus' eyes held Judas's. "Judas, do you betray the Son of Man with a kiss?" The soldiers lunged forward, seizing Jesus roughly. Chaos erupted. Peter, fueled by loyalty and fear, drew his sword and slashed at the high priest's servant, Malchus, cutting off his ear. Blood splattered onto the ground, and Malchus cried out in pain. But before the soldiers could retaliate, Jesus raised his hand. "Enough!" he commanded. The soldiers hesitated as Jesus knelt beside Malchus. Gently, he touched the bleeding wound, and instantly the ear was restored. The soldiers, stunned, exchanged uneasy glances. Even Malchus touched his ear in disbelief. But still, they held their grip on Jesus. Turning to Peter, Jesus spoke, "Put your sword away. Shall I not drink the cup the Father has given me?" Peter, stunned and heartbroken, lowered his weapon. Jesus looked at the armed crowd and said, "Have you come out with swords and clubs as if I were a criminal? Every day I was with you in the temple courts, and you did not lay a hand on me. But this is your hour, when darkness reigns." At his words, the disciples panicked and fled into the night, abandoning him, just as he had foretold. Bound and surrounded, Jesus was dragged away from Gethsemane, the sacred place of prayer, now defiled by betrayal. He was taken first to Annas, then to Caiaphas, the high priest. In the high priest's courtyard, Peter lingered in the shadows, watching the unfolding events. Fear gripped his heart. A servant girl spotted him and said, "You were with Jesus." Startled, Peter blurted, "I don't know what you're talking about." Twice more, different voices accused him of being one of Jesus' followers, and each time, Peter denied it. Then the rooster crowed. Peter's heart sank as he locked eyes with Jesus. The very words Jesus had spoken earlier echoed in his mind. "Before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times." Overcome with grief, Peter ran out into the night, weeping bitterly. Inside, the mock trial continued. False witnesses brought contradictory accusations against Jesus. The high priest finally stood and asked, "Are you the Messiah, the Son of the Blessed One?" Jesus, his face bruised from slaps, met his gaze and said, "I am. And you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of power and coming with the clouds of heaven." The room erupted in outrage. The high priest tore his robes and declared, "Blasphemy! He deserves death." The guards spat on him, struck him, and mocked him. Outside, the morning light crept over Jerusalem, signaling the beginning of the darkest day in history. Jesus would soon stand before Pilate. These stories are to equip us in our journey of faith, so we may know, love, and serve our Lord Jesus Christ. Please subscribe, like, share, and comment to help us keep Jesus Christ on the airwave.